You've made it past the paperwork, survived the application process, your CV worked, and your qualifications checked out. And now you're sitting across from someone who could change your future with a single decision. By the time you reach the interview stage, most employers have already decided you're capable. The question now isn't, can you do it? It's, do we want to work with you? You're no longer being evaluated primarily on your degree or certifications, because those got you already into the room. Now you're being judged on something much harder to see. Trust, communication, confidence, fit. Today we're talking about the interview stage, which I've also referred to as the personality filter throughout this episode. Welcome back to Tende OS, the job search system and community that helps you search less, organize better, and get hired faster. In challenge number 6, we looked at the qualification recognition gap. Today, we're moving past paperwork, because once you've reached the interview stage, the challenge changes completely. The interview is where hiring decisions become human, and people don't always make decisions the way job seekers expect. Let's get into it. Part 1, the biggest interview misunderstanding. Most candidates walk in believing they're about to prove how qualified they are. But by the time you're invited to an interview, the employer already knows you're qualified enough. Your application already answered whether you have the education and experience. This doesn't mean technical evaluation disappears. In fields like engineering, finance, or skilled trades, you can still expect technical questions or practical exercises. Technical skills get you into contention. However, the human factors often decide between candidates who are already technically capable. Imagine 2 candidates who both answer correctly. One communicates clearly and explains how they arrived at their answer. The other gives short answers and leaves the interviewer uncertain about how they would operate in a team. Technically, both may have reached the same solution. Professionally, they're creating different impressions. This is why interviewers care as much about how you think as the answer itself. They're evaluating how you approach problems, how you communicate under pressure, how you explain technical topics, and how you collaborate with others. Technical questions are doing double duty, testing both your expertise and your ability to work effectively with others. That's where the personality filter comes back into the picture. Part 2, the question behind every question. One of the most useful interview insights is that the question you're asked is often not the question being evaluated. Tell me about yourself. Sounds simple, but it's often testing whether you can communicate clearly, organize information, and present yourself professionally. Why do you want to work here? Is looking for evidence of research. It's checking if you're making a deliberate decision rather than sending applications randomly. Why should we hire you? Sounds uncomfortable to some. In Germany, it's simply an invitation to summarize your value, a clear and structured business case. Walk me through your CV is a genuine test of whether you can explain your career clearly and honestly without glossing over transitions or gaps. What do you know about our company is a signal of preparation. Surface-level answers copied from the homepage usually stand out immediately. Part 3, small talk is genuinely optional. In a lot of hiring cultures, the first few minutes are built around rapport, the weather, the journey, the office. In Germany, this is often minimal or skipped. Many interviews move straight into substantive questions within the first minute or 2. This doesn't mean the interviewer is unfriendly. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It simply means the format values getting to the substance quickly. If you don't get a warm-up period, don't panic, and don't try to force one. Trying to create extended small talk in a fast-moving business conversation can sometimes come across as stalling rather than connecting. Part 4, formality, titles, and punctuality. A few things about how you show up matter more than many candidates realize even before you've answered a question. First, punctuality. In Germany, it's a signal of professionalism and reliability. Aiming to arrive 5 to 10 minutes early is usually the safer approach. If something unavoidable happens, communicate as soon as possible. A quick message before the interview is always better than a vague apology afterwards. Second, formality. If the interview is in German, default to Sie unless invited to switch to Du. Academic titles like doctor, professor still carry weight in certain industries. However, in startups and international companies, things are more relaxed. The key isn't being overly formal, It's starting formally and allowing the other side to set the tone. Part 5. Why Germany? For international professionals, one question often sits quietly in the background. Why Germany? Why now? Why this city? Hiring internationally creates additional effort, relocation, visas, and onboarding. Naturally, employers want confidence that you're serious about building a future here. You don't need a dramatic story. You just need a clear and believable one. The stronger your reasoning sounds, the lower your perceived risk becomes. Part 6. The weakness question and why structure beats complexity. Tell me about a weakness exists in most cultures, but the expected shape is different. A fake weakness, like I work too hard, usually lands badly. It sounds rehearsed and evasive. A stronger answer names a real but manageable weakness. Briefly explain the impact and show what you've done to improve. The honesty and structure are being evaluated as much as the weakness itself. German workplaces value clarity, structure, and precision. That doesn't mean perfect German or English. It means making your thinking easy to follow. Structure beats complexity. Part 7. The silence isn't awkward, it's a feature. One habit catches many international candidates by surprise: the pause after you finish answering. In some cultures, silence feels uncomfortable. In Germany, interviewers are often comfortable taking a moment to think after you have answered. Candidates sometimes panic and keep talking. They add unnecessary information and dilute what was a strong answer. The better approach? Finish your answer, then stop. Let the silence exist. Often, it's simply somebody thinking. Part 8. The stories that matter. Many candidates answer questions with opinions. Strong candidates answer with evidence. Are you good at teamwork? Yes proves nothing. A stronger answer describes a real situation. What happened, what you did, and the outcome. Behavioral questions about conflict or mistakes are not traps. They're designed to reveal how you think and behave under real conditions. The best preparation is collecting real stories from your own career. Part 9. What employers really mean by fit. Fit makes many candidates nervous. When employers talk about fit, they aren't looking for someone identical to themselves. They're asking, can this person succeed in our environment? Can they work independently, take responsibility, handle feedback? In Germany, reliability carries enormous weight. Direct feedback is viewed as professionalism, not hostility. If an interviewer challenges your answer, don't assume it's a negative sign. Sometimes they're testing your pressure handling. These signals shape how employers imagine working with you day to day, and that imagination often influences hiring decisions more than candidates realize. Part 10. Risk and why clarity wins. Every hiring decision involves risk. Interviewers are constantly, often unconsciously, trying to reduce uncertainty. Questions about visas or relocation are risk questions in disguise. For example, I'm looking into options creates uncertainty. I'm eligible for the opportunity card creates confidence. Clarity reduces risk, and lower risk tends to open more doors. Being precise about your status and plans is a professional necessity. Part 11. After the interview, a short professional thank you message within a day or two is perfectly appropriate. Keep it brief, reaffirm your interest, and leave it there. Remember challenge number 5. Once you've followed up appropriately, let the process run its course. Trust the system you've built. So, here's the takeaway. By the time you're sitting in the interview, employers already know what you've done. Now they're trying to understand who you are. They've already seen the evidence that suggests you can do the job. What they're evaluating now is whether they can trust you with it and work alongside you. Candidates who understand this stop trying to impress and start trying to connect. And connection is what turns an interview into an offer. Next time, you've won. The offer arrives, months of effort finally paid off. And then, within a single conversation, some candidates give away thousands of euros, better conditions or flexibility they could have had, usually without realizing it. See you then. And if you don't want to miss it, hit subscribe. That's where every challenge in this series lands first, along with practical job search tips for Germany and across Europe, plus community updates in between episodes.